Welcome back, everyone. In the last video, I asked you about creating a new context in order to store all of our relevant data. In this video, we're going to do this together. So to start, let's go into our context folder and let's make a new file called products.context.jsx. When starting out with a context, remember, you always need to import the createContext method from React. Once we start actually fleshing this out, we'll start figuring out what else we need. We also need to import in those products. So we can call it products. You can actually call this whatever you want because it's really just a variable that you're setting. And we need to go and get it from the shopdata.json. Then what we're going to do is we are going to initialize our context. So let's not even think about what it is that will contain yet. Let's just build out the scaffold. So I'm going to say product context, which is equal to create context, and inside is just going to be an empty object for now. Finally, what we need to export is also a provider. Remember that for any context, we need both the context value as well as the provider itself. And the provider is going to be a component that returns product context.provider. And what do we pass inside? Well, we need the children, and then we need to render the children between our product context provider. So now that we have this, what we're missing is the value. And this is where we need to start filling it in. So what is it that we want to store? Well, we know that we want to store an array of products. So here, products, we can initialize as an empty array to signify what we want. Next, what we need is we also want some function that allows us to potentially set those products. But for now, we don't need it necessarily yet because we haven't really figured out where we're going to fetch and then set them in. We can always add this a little later. Inside of our actual component now, we can say const products and set products is what we need from useState. And in order to use state, we need to actually import this in from React as a hook. So we have use state, and for our default value, let's just pass it products, because for now, we're just importing them since they're hard-coded. Again, when we start fetching them from our database, we can update this code accordingly. Right now, we're just trying to get everything to work. And then what we're going to export out of the value is just the products as an object. So we can just pass this value in for value. And now let's just save this and bring this into the appropriate place, which is in our index.js. So let's take our products provider, go into index.js, and then import the provider, making sure to update our text with the correct route to the correct file. And then let's think about the actual order here. So we know we want to insert products provider and wrapper app. But what about the other provider, user provider? And what about browser router? Generally speaking, you want to think about whether or not whatever you're wrapping needs actual access to whatever it is that you're providing. So in our particular case with the products provider, does the browser router ever need our products? No, the browser router isn't even our library. So essentially, we know for sure we want to be inside the browser router. But what about user provider? Well, let's think about it like this. What is more useful? For the user provider to have access to the products provider, or for the products provider to have access to the user provider? Generally speaking, this really depends on your own code. It also depends on what it is that you're building and what features you need to build regarding this kind of separation. But if you think about it, chances are when you're fetching products, if you have an international application, you're probably going to be filtering down what products that user can access by geolocation. Now, whether or not that geolocation handling to deliver certain products to a user requesting them is done on the front end or the back end, well, that kind of varies depending on your project's architecture, and this varies from company to company anyways. But this is just more so to give you an idea or an example of why the order might matter. So for us, if we take that example, well, we know that the products should be able to then access the user. So if that's the case, then we would want to wrap the user provider around the products provider. So then this way, the products are able to reach up into the user provider and get the value. Whereas the user provider can't necessarily go into its children in order to fetch that data. So that's something to remember. So now that we have our products provider set up, let's actually start using it in order to access what we need. So I want to copy over product context, and I want to go back to my shop component. And now instead of relying on the shop data like so, I want to replace my code so that I'm able to use the context that we've just created. So here, what I want to do is I want to import in use context. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to import in the context as well. So I want to import in products context. And then we're just going to say, give me the products from use context, passing in the product context. So one quick thing is that my product context, I want to make this plural, products context. So let me just make that change. And then let me go back here and update it similarly. And then finally, if we just replace products like so, now this should continue working as we had it before. So I'm going to save this, go back to my application, and there we go. We see that our products are still present. So next, what we're going to do is we want to start styling out our products. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a product card in order to actually style this more appropriately. And that's what we'll do in the next video. So join me in the next video where we'll take a swing at that.